Hello, everybody. Ryker here. I'm gonna start by giving myself the OG's award for this one. For if you tune along to the very elusive live stream of last game and the absolute nightmare technologically that it was, because I'm inefficient at OBS, then I appreciate that. But hopefully the tech issues are sorted. Ben's still in Montreal, so Josh and I are holding down the fort, and we're breaking down the upcoming Raptors Celtics game. Hopefully we can get this posted like at least an hour before the game comes out, and maybe some of the headline topics. Are the Celtics going to be as good as they were last year? I know they super underperformed compared to expectations. What is our lineup looking like? We've had some breakout performances from OG, Precious Achua. On a whole, we thought we were doing really good after game one, and then kind of the ball slip a little bit against the 76ers last game. So, Josh, we'll break it down in a second. What are your initial takes on this upcoming game tonight against the Boston Celtics? W or L for the Raptors?
I'm going to guess a W. Maybe that's optimistic. We didn't look so good once Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris came back against Philly. We got reality checked pretty bad, but I still love what this group is doing. I love the way the team is built, and they're going to give a crazy effort regardless. So I'm going to say a close one. It's always good with Boston. I mean, they've kind of had our number recently for sure, but this is a new group. They look hungry, and I'm excited to see what happens tonight. I'd say it's going to be a close game, but my prediction, Toronto comes out on top. 5 points.
5 point victory. Well, we're gonna jump right into it because if you were led here by the title of this video, will the Boston Celtics make the playoffs? Or maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but we love to just fuel the rivalry between the Raptors and the Boston Celtics, because obviously I'm gonna see if I have the animation. They ousted us. I don't think I have it. Oh yes, I do. Here it is. Oops. Knocked out. They knocked us out of the playoffs 2 years ago. Obviously, the Raptors weren't even close to the playoffs. But before we get into that, just quick plug on people have been asking. We now have memberships for the Raptors Digest. So if you'll see next to the subscribe button, a join button, tier one, basically you get some member shout outs, some exclusive stickers and stuff. Tier two, we're going to do some live call ins and a fantasy basketball league. Josh, myself, Ben will compete against you guys. So if you're in that tier, hold tight. We're going to have the league set up and all of the information before the regular season starts. But email the Raptors Digest at raptorsdigest@gmail.com. And I'll give you all the details as it comes out. And then tier three is kind of crazy. We're trying to do some like in-person scrimmage. So it's out there, but we'll get into it. Like I said, Boston Celtics. Will they make the playoffs? I have opinions on this. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's fun nonetheless. Josh, what's your immediate reaction?
I gotta say yes, definitely, and I think they have a chance of being like probably a fifth seed. So
Even in the
um,
competitive East,
I
even when
know the
every
East is a
team
lot
improved
better.
and they didn't, they got worse.
They got star power though, and that star power is getting older and getting more confident. So I think their whole team. I mean, essentially since they've been together, it's always come back to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and those guys. They're just getting older and better. Like I think Jaylen Brown's game is so underrated, and wings win championships. Pippen, Jordan. Like it is really the prototype of how you want to go into it. Siakam, Kawhi, wing players, wing duos are just historically speaking really leading to success for championships. And I
But
think
they
that
don't
they're
have a
going to be
point
coming
guard now, Ben. What or Josh? Sorry, what? Like
bad.
how much is that going to impact it? It's just a habit. How much is that going to impact them? Because obviously they didn't want Kemba. They traded him in return. Al Horford has his career is maybe being resuscitated now. He wants to play basketball again. I don't know. But the replacement for Kemba is Dennis Schroeder, who chronicled wanted that big contract, ultimately took almost the vet minimum. So what is your thoughts, like how much is having that kind of gap in the point guard spot going to hurt the Celtics, or will it not hurt them at all?
I mean, in terms of making the playoffs, I don't think it'll change that. Championship contention, definitely, I think it counts them out. I love Marcus Smart, but you need that true point guard like a Lowry or a Chris Paul or someone who's going to take care of the ball like that and bring you to that next level. A ton of guys you can name that do that job really well, but Dennis Schroeder, I don't think falls into that category, even though he was a champion with the Lakers. Um, I can't consider it that. I would say that the Boston Celtics are probably going to be having a team dynamic that looks similar to the Clippers, where you have two really dominant wing players. They have Paul George, Kawhi. really great team, decent supporting cast. But you don't have that playmaking. They had Pat Bev for so long. It's not going to work out. They're going to be in search for that point guard, and unless they make a big move at the deadline, I don't think their ceiling is too high in terms of contending, but playoffs for sure. And I think you get the star power for a fifth seed, I think.
Yeah. And it's an overt exaggeration to say they'll miss it. Obviously, the East is going to be way more competitive. And similar to the Raptors, they did a big roster reconstruction where, they lost or they, got rid of Evan Fournier, Kemba Walker. I can't remember who else, but they've brought back Enes Kanter, Josh Richardson, who I don't see what his role is going to be with the Boston Celtics, but whatever. Juancho Hernan Gomez, Al Horford, Dennis Schroeder. So there's a lot of new faces, similar to the Raptors, where we're seeing a lot of new guys, Scotty Barnes and Mihailuk, and a ton of new guys that we could rattle through. So this is a Raptors podcast. Obviously, the rivalry is still going to exist between these two teams, but we want to talk about what's it's going to take to beat the Celtics tonight, because obviously they got pounded last night or 2 nights ago by the 76ers. Who are we going to need to see a bigger performance from?
But before I answer that, it clicked as you were naming off the guys on the roster. Who's that point guard they have? He's pretty young. They drafted him out of Oregon.
Peyton Pritchard.
He put up.
He's a beast,
Peyton
man.
Pritchard
He's so good.
He's kind of legit. Who knows what he develops into? Maybe he's the answer for the team.
He would wake up every day, 5 a.m. before school, and dribble a weighted basketball for an hour a day.
Is that a real story?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it. Like, his handle's insane. He just plays the point guard position so naturally, and his trajectory's up, and he plays on a good team. So maybe he's the answer for them. But on the Raptors side of things, if they're going to beat the Celtics tonight, I'd like to think Scotty Barnes has a little bit of a better game. I don't even want to hold him to that standard. He's so young, and it's just the preseason. But yeah, seeing a little bit more to Scotty would be good. And Gary Trent's shot selection, I'm okay with it because.
Was it cold?
Yeah, it was cold. It was a little chilly. I got to get wrapped up after watching that game. But you know what? Seeing the green light is more important than anything. Gary Trent's a guy he's probably our most skilled shooter outside of Van Vliet. So he's going to be getting a lot of opportunities to shoot the ball, and he's got to be comfortable with it, even if he's not making it. So preseason's the time to get out these kinks. But if they want to win any kind of basketball game, he's going to need to hit more of those and maybe be a bit smarter about when he's pulling up.
Yeah, that's fair. But one guy who has been seemingly at the top of his game is OG. I don't have the box score. He's been hot. Can you read it out? Last game, I think he had 22 points. I don't know how efficient it was. I was trying to sort through all the tech stuff.
I think he did have 22. So, yeah, 29 minutes played. He had 22 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. From 3, he was 3 of 9. And then he had 1 block. So
3 of 9 from the field?
No, from 3-point range, and then from the field, he was 8 of 14.
Yeah, so extremely efficient game from in the paint. Obviously, that's who we're probably most in the need of to take the jump this regular season, because, Pascal Siakam's timeline, he'll be out for the first month or two. Scotty Barnes, he is a rookie, so we can't have too much. And we thought he might even be a project, so you can't have the expectations that he's going to come in and be a 20-point per game player. That has to be held by OG. Hopefully Gary Trent Jr., but OG with the long tenure on this team, improving his game every season, improving his handles like Ben loves to point out. He's got to be the guy that, and I keep saying it, mental. His mental has to be that he's not the fourth option anymore. Plays have to be made through OG, not just as that final, driving kick, and he's the person that's camped out at the corner 3 spot. He needs to actually create offense this season, and the Raptors do have a shot at being a very good team in the East. Otherwise, the people that are counting the Raptors out, there's more weight to their argument.
There is, and I've been hard on OG, definitely, over the years, and because people have always remarked from the beginning, you can see the improvement in his dribble, his handle, and it's true. He's gotten better. I've just found it so incremental that it's never blown me away. But this season, I'm starting to watch him and really actually getting a feel for some confidence. Like, he's pulling up on shots I've never really seen him pull up on before. He took a shot the other game that kind of looked a little Kobe-esque. I could never believe, if you were to show me that clip in OG's rookie season, knowing he'd be doing that right now, still relatively young, I'd be blown away. So when you look at the actual timeline of how long he's been with the team, the development has been really good. It's just sort of subtle, or at least it's been subtle to me. because I think he's gotten a little bit better every year. But now he's at that point where we're having that conversation: is he an all-star? And there's some merit to it. I think that the all-star voting doesn't consider a ton of defensive upside in the criteria a lot. I mean, it will play some role, but at the end of the day, OG is a really gifted player. And you're right. To get the most out of this team, we're going to need him comfortable with taking those shots and holding on to the ball.
Well, I've said it time and time again that All-Star game is politics, and Fred VanVleet, he's not interesting enough of a basketball player. To us, he is, but not the general public, because he can't dunk, he's not breaking ankles on a regular, right? Majority of his game is around the three-point line. That stuff doesn't translate to highlight reels, right? OG Anunoby, his game is a little bit more crafted if he's creating offense this year, because he has the athleticism to get those highlight dunks, those big spin moves, and sort of like two-hand crams in the lane when it happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have good playoff seeding that he would be the all-star selection, because Pascal Siakam is not, he's out at the beginning with injury.
Yeah, the Pascal's chances are definitely hindered by this the shoulder injury he's got. But the one thing I find funny about OG as well, and you're talking about just sort of the flashiness to his game and how he shows a bit of that. He's got this personality where he acts like he doesn't care about anything. He's super mellow, super like he it's almost just like he's constantly trolling. And I find it funny though that for a guy with that kind of personality, he always makes sure that he has the most swag on the court. I'm not gonna lie, OG looks good out there when he plays, and then when he's got an open court opportunity, he's always trying to do the reverse dunk. He's got some flair to his game, but when you like compare it to his personality, it's kind of surprising, right? Like you expect him to play that robotic style, but no, he cares about ending up on House of Highlights every once in a while.
He could be
So
Kawhi-esque, right? Like his demeanor is pretty similar, but he is cooler. He's definitely cooler.
he's a
There's
funner
going to
guy.
be some competition. He's a fun guy too. There's going to be some competition on this podcast, because I'm always saying he's cut from a slab of granite. People are like, bro, you have a crush on OG. I say, yeah, I do. I mean, he's the man. He's the man
So
of this team.
chiseled.
So there's some competition now. Last point, and Ben loves to spread the precious propaganda. I got it playing up there on the screen right now. That's somebody that interests you and I. His game, we call him Precious Antetokounmpo Bio, just because his game mimics the raw potential of a lot of these upper echelon guys, and especially with him ripping down rebounds, carrying the ball up full court, right? Having confidence in his ball handling. He doesn't look awkward like a center that tries to dribble. So could he be the next Ibaka for us, or better? What are the expectations of him this season, this game, whatever?
I think he could. I honestly think he could. He's got such a high motor on both ends of the floor. And what you were saying about him taking it off the glass and going coast to coast, getting buckets, passing to teammates, I didn't expect to see this that early from Precious. That's been a super pleasant surprise. In the greater scheme of things, Ibaka is a pretty ambitious ceiling, because Serge Ibaka is like one of the better centers in the league, or at least in previous history, he has been. Goes super underappreciated, but he can hit threes. He defends the rim, and for 6'9", I mean, he gets out there and he bodies guys. So I think Precious has that same sort of motor and skill set. But Serge was a project too. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Precious could almost have a bit more playmaking to his game than Serge had. He looks a little bit more down to dribble the ball, carry it up. Like he's more comfortable in the half court with the ball than I think Serge ever was in his career. So a little bit of a different player, but at the core of it, I do think he could be like, if we were in championship contention mode, I don't think he's our starter. I think he probably comes off the bench or plays four. And that's because I'm a firm believer that to win a championship, you need to have just an absolute tree in your starting five at center. That's just kind of like a Dwight Howard or a Marc Gasol or an Anthony Davis, even just someone huge. I know AD doesn't play center, but you get what I'm saying. You need a 7-footer to take on your craziest assignments and protect the paint. And I don't think he'll be our starter when we're contending, but if he can start now and especially through the rest of preseason and get that experience under his belt, I don't know. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Precious. He looks awesome, and the developments are a surprise.
Well, outside of the Bucks and the 76ers, not a lot of teams in the East have a dominant center like that. The Heat, the Celtics, the Raptors. I mean, the Hawks, I guess you could consider Capella a big man, but most of the teams are playing smaller. But I see what you're saying, and Ibaka, the comparison, yeah. I mean, he's going to have to develop into the flow of the offense, develop his jumper, but it's promising that his style of play is even drawing those comparisons right now, and he's a better defender, right? No cap. He's a better defender because he's more agile. He can play out of the perimeter a little bit better, and his ability to ball handle, that's something we've never seen from the center position in the history of the Toronto Raptors. Maybe if we go back earlier than 15 seasons or yeah, like 15 seasons or more ago, but in recent memory, when we've had the Bargnanis and the JVs and the Marcus Alls and the Serge Ibakas and all of those characters, the Aaron Grays and the Amir Johnsons and the Ed Davises, none of those guys have been able to handle the ball. So that is to me, the big upside of Precious Achiuwa, among many other things. His motor, right? His youth. He's only in his second season of the NBA. So it's going to be really fun to see him play this year.
And I am somewhat torn over the starting job because in principle, I think Chris Boucher should get it. But Chris Boucher's been a bench player for his whole career. He's excelled in that role, and he's farther down the timeline considerably than Precious is. So you can make the argument that, you're not trying to win right now. Let Chris continue to grow and thrive in the role that he's been in, and then give Precious this big assignment early in his career to help bring him to the point where when he is Chris's age, he's a comfortable starter in the league. So I'm torn though, because I love Boucher and I think he deserves to start.
Though I'll shut you down because Chris Boucher is a 4.
He's like bigger than Precious, honestly.
This is Chris Boucher. I don't know if you can see it on your screen. This little thin lamp, that's Chris Boucher.
Pixar
his
lamp.
Stature. And if he puts on more muscle, maybe it'll affect his game. I think he's a proper 4 in the NBA, but we don't need to get into that. I think we're going to start to go a little bit long, so it'll be interesting. We'll try to maybe get a live going for this one. I don't know if my computer processing power can handle having a live stream going and the game, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be a second half thing. If not, we'll definitely have a live going for the post game reaction. So appreciate it for making it this far. Definitely like, subscribe, become a channel member. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. I've probably missed some stuff. We have merch now. I'm rocking it. Josh's is in the mail. It's order form. His will be there. If you guys order now, you can probably get the stuff just as Josh is getting the stuff. We'll all rock it together. That's probably it. We got like T-minus an hour and a half until the game starts. Josh, any last words?
We'll see you guys soon.
Perfect. All right. See if I can play us out. I think this is pretty good, guys. Cheers.
Peace.